Today I'm going to read a passage from Carlos Castanada's book, The Fire from Within. Carlos Castaneda was a modern-day shaman. He trained with a man called Don Juan, a shaman from Mexico. In this chapter, he's talking about petty tyrants. Petty tyrants are those people that irritate you and annoy you and do things that make your life miserable until you can realize that they have arrived in your life so that you can see the folly of humanity. Petty tyrants are those people, say, roommates, teachers, professors, people in our own families, a parent, a sibling, maybe somebody in the neighborhood. For me, it was my father. He was terrible. He was a tyrant with everybody, and with me in particular. I was the oldest child, and he really loved humiliating me and manipulating me and jerking me around. And it was not a lot of fun growing up, however. Things started to change in my late teens and early 20s when I started to realize if I could demonstrate that I didn't care, I could take back some power. And in fact, quite a lot of power. And I remember it was, I believe, Christmas time, holiday season. And I and my siblings were visiting his home. And we were in his basement, and we were getting into it again. Another argument. I don't know why it started. And I remember reading somewhere, and it could very well have been this book. I was reading a lot of books like this. But we were starting to argue, and it suddenly popped into my head, show him you don't care. So I started to laugh, and his eyes bugged out of his head, like he was just about to strangle me to death. He never tried that again, and we never did get into an argument quite like that again, although he didn't entirely stop. He was still a petty tyrant in my life, until I decided to finally cut off all contact with him. So here, let me read a few sentences from that chapter now. "I was provoking your self-importance," Don Juan said with a frown. "Self-importance is our greatest enemy. Think about it. What weakens us is feeling offended by the deeds and misdeeds of our fellow man. Our self-importance requires that we spend most of our lives offended by someone. The new seers recommended that every effort should be made to eradicate self-importance from the lives of warriors. I have followed that recommendation, and much of my endeavors with you have been geared to show you that without self-importance, we are invulnerable." And there it is. I actually think this advice is extremely relevant today, although it was written decades ago. But this is lifelong. This type of information, this is universal. And I have tried to follow it. And I will say that at this point, I have accepted human folly. mostly my own. I'm exceedingly aware of how human I am. And I just don't have a lot of ego about it. It just seems silly at this point when you realize what's really important in life and how we're all struggling to get through. And all we really need to do is connect with a higher power, the divine creator, life itself. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you for listening, and have a very sensual day. Thank you. This is your host, Dyann Bridges, and you've been listening to The Body House Chronicles.